The 2000s were a turning point in video games. Nintendo would finally release a disc-based system, the GameCube, Sony would release the best-selling console of all time, the PS2, and Microsoft would get into the market with their Xbox. Each company would go on to do battle in the market for a couple of years, but there was one more console released before the turn of the century that was left in the dust of its competitors. But in recent years, it's had a resurgence of popularity. And yes, it's still thinking. It's the Sega Dreamcast. I bet I know what the Dreamcast is thinking right now. When is the Dreamcast 2 coming out? The Dreamcast was originally released on September 9th, 1999, and it was Sega's last attempt to try and sell a successful video game console. And I said last because it of course was unsuccessful in its time because of it being overshadowed by the competition. Which is a shame because this is a good system, and many fanboys are agreeing with me right now, which shows it's better than what was said about it back then. Fun fact, this was also released 7 months after I was born. If I was only born earlier, I could have dreamed of the Dreamcast. Before we have a look at the actual console, we'll first have a look at the very unique controller. And unique is the best word to describe this. It has the weird A, B, X, Y button layout complete with the non-American SNES color palette. It has the triangle pause button on the bottom with the cable connector, which is strange, usually they're on the top, so Sega decided to put a thing on the back to give the illusion that it comes out of the top. I honestly don't know why, and I also don't really care. Continuing on, we have the plastic C-pad and D-pad, and on the back we have the L and R buttons with grips, and these are probably the best layout for the L and R buttons I've ever seen, in my opinion. They're very comfortable and properly placed, it's just right where you would want it. But that isn't the main focus of the controller. The main feature is the memory card, otherwise known as the VMU. Other than being a memory card, it can also play mini games when accessed by certain games. You could almost say this is kinda a precursor to the Wii U. Now that we've covered the unique controller, it's time to say away with thee and make way for the actual hardware. The Dreamcast itself has the CPU of Hitachi SH-4 32-bit RISC, clocked at 200 MHz. If you don't know what I just said, then let me simplify it for you. It's powerful in 2000s terms. The console is pretty much a snowy white. It has the power button which turns on the console in this orange light, and there's also the open button which will open the lid and Dreamcast logo so you can put your GD-ROM Dreamcast games into the system. And now, we close the lid. After you observe the 4-letter controller inputs, you'll see on the right corner that there are some words that say compatible with Microsoft Windows CE. Yes, that's right, the Sega Dreamcast was able to connect to the internet. If you flip this console to the back, you'll see there's a modem for old internet connectivity. And if you try connecting it to the internet today, it'll look super outdated and totally hilarious. For games, the Dreamcast library is actually impressive. It has faithful arcade ports like Crazy Taxi, and it has very popular titles like Sonic Adventure and Shenmue. And also the fighting games. There's so many fighting games. The Dreamcast is probably the biggest hidden gem when it comes to consoles, and it's not that hidden anymore thanks to its fanbase. So if you're able to find a Dreamcast anywhere at a fair price, you should totally pick it up, so you can experience the hype that your old friends never told you about because the console died. But boy were they wrong, it's the Sega Dreamcast. Now one thing that's been popular since it was introduced is Pokemon. When it debuted in 1998 here in the States, it became a nationwide phenomenon, selling like wildfire along with the Game Boy. Now when a new Game Boy and Pokemon game are about to come out and you integrate them together, you're going to get the next episode, which we're going to look at a colorful Game Boy with everybody's favorite Pocket Monsters.
If you think I missed anything, please leave a comment. If you like what you see, leave a like.
If you think others could get knowledge out of this, share this video. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Now if you'll excuse me, nostalgia is calling.